if I had a bond like that, at a minimum, it would be rated AA, and we're going to talk about credit ratings on Thursday as well. That's not much of a risk. And in fact, AIG sold a lot of default protection, the so-called credit default swaps on AA rated mortgage-backed stuff back in 2006, 7, and 8. And those things, by the time October, November of 2008 came, they were trading 50 cents on the dollar. That should never happen on AA rated mortgage-backed security. But a lot of the loans, people bought a property for $100,000 in Florida. They couldn't even sell it for 50. There were some developments that I've seen. And there was a friend that I was working with in Tallahassee. I visited there. He was a real estate professor anyway. He took me through developments that are complete ghost towns. People bought them for $500,000. And trust me, in Tallahassee, $500,000 house is a McMansion. It's a big house. It's not like Boston or New York. In Boston, the median house price in the old hoods is about $500,000. That's different. Back in 87, 88, I could go into, for example, Roxbury in Boston, which is known as a primarily black population. If you're Italian, you had no chance. You would have been killed. Same thing, a black guy going to south end of Boston, same deal. Racial issues were big. But, I had kind of a curly hair, somewhat olive skin. I had no issues. Roxbury, median house price in Roxbury is $500,000 now. It has been gentrified a little bit, that is true, but still. Think about the median house price in white neighborhoods in Boston is over $1 million now. But in Tallahassee, $500,000 is a lot of money. And they couldn't afford the payments. They said, okay, take the key. And banks lost a lot of money. But if you had dropped that into an SPV and sold a bond, that's not your problem anymore. You also, let me see how much time I have. Okay. You also have bonds that are called insurance-linked bonds. These are sometimes known as the cat bonds. That is short for catastrophe. In many cases, insurance companies are not willing to provide hurricane insurance because the idea behind insurance selling is typically pooling uncorrelated risks. If you're selling car insurance, that's easy. Unless we are drag racing together, the chances of me having an accident is completely unrelated to the chances of you having an accident. They're independent. If you have a big pool of independent risks, your average risk is almost nothing. In fact, insurance companies technically are not in the business of taking risk. They're in the business of pooling risk. But when it comes to hurricane, the risks are correlated. When hurricane comes in, it doesn't make a distinction between Delray Beach in Florida, which is about 10 miles south of Palm Beach, Florida. Okay? If Delray is hit, you can bet everything you got that Palm Beach is going to be hit as well. Maybe even Jacksonville. So if you're going to sell hurricane insurance on the Atlantic coast of Florida coastline, more than likely they're correlated risks. If your risks are correlated, either you put a lot of risk premium, the hurricane risk becomes very expensive, hurricane insurance becomes very expensive, or you just don't take the risk. But what you can do is you can issue a bond and that says, okay, I'm going to fund this insurance contract. I'm going to sell a bond. Normally, this is going to pay, let's say, 10% when the normal rates are 5. But if hurricane happens in a specified area and damages are a certain amount, I'm going to start deducting those damages from your return. Depending upon the bond, You can limit the return, effective return to zero. That means, at worst, you're going to get your money back, but at best, you're going to get 10. But how much you're going to get depends upon what happens to that specified area in terms of hurricane. Sometimes you say you could also lose money. That means you get a little bit higher return for them. It's not in your book, but there are something called, I'll kind of end our discussion with this. There is a more clinical name for it. I don't remember what it is, but these are known as the death bonds. You're probably thinking, what the hell? They kind of were created first when AIDS epidemic hit U.S. in early to mid 80s. Say you have a term life insurance, 20 years. And, if you're young, 30 years old, it practically costs nothing to buy something like that. At my age, it costs quite a bit. But when you're 30-year-old, $1 million policy shouldn't cost you more than $20 if you're not smoking. If you're a lady, it costs even less. Because on average, women live longer, about 5 years longer than men. So enjoy those 5 years that you don't have us. The trouble is, those 5 years are not the good years. You get them at the end. Sometimes people tell me, you're still smoking. That's going to reduce your life by 7 years. I said, I'm going to lose that at the end, not now. If I'm 87 years old and from 87 to 94, that life probably is going to be miserable. That's the way I think about it. I enjoy smoking quite a bit, so I do. But you have a 20-year-old policy and you got the bad news. You got diagnosed with HIV. And in mid 80s, that was an automatic death sentence. I mean, it was less likely for a death row inmate to die than a HIV positive person. It was that certain. It was just a matter. In fact, you even died faster. The average death row inmate takes about 10 years to die from the sentence to execution. You were more likely to die than a death row inmate, and you died quicker. So you have a policy. Let's say it's $1 million policy. It's 20 years. You pay $30 a month, but you're going to die soon. But if you get that $1 million after you die, what do you care? I mean, your estate is going to get that money. So these people, you can think of these people as unscrupulous, but they serve a role. They went to these AIDS patients and told them, okay, how about this? I keep making your insurance premiums, but you're going to sign over the benefit to me. So when you die, I'm going to get the $1 million. And for this, I'm going to give you money right now that you can use for hospital benefits and stuff. Remember, this was before Obamacare. If you had a HIV diagnosis, it was a pre-existing condition. There is no way you could, even if you wanted to pay, you could buy health insurance, period. And you died even faster. And people said, okay. Or if you think, okay, I'm going to die anyway, I might as well use that money and enjoy life until I die, whatever it is. I bought your term life insurance from you. I paid you money right now, and you also stopped making those premiums. But when you died, I get that $1 million. Those are the death bonds. You can actually collect all of these into a pool and issue a bond that is backed by these. This actually has, in addition to helping people with current cash needs now, it also has very important role in adding to diversification of a portfolio. The risk of people dying in those both term life insurance is completely uncorrelated to the market. Okay. If there are a lot of investors and if the market goes down by 50%, they're going to kill themselves. Okay, there's a little bit of correlation. Well, that's about it. That means by adding such securities to your portfolio, you actually reduce the overall risk of your portfolio. And these guys, on average, pay a little bit higher than your so-called risk-free rates. Just because this is financial engineering based on something really nasty, I mean, you're basically trading on people's lives, doesn't mean it's not useful to the society. It is. In fact, at some point, when I was teaching the MBA class, finance class, I had my students write an essay about this. You're for or against in terms of ethics. Let's stop here. On Thursday, we're going to continue with the rest of chapter 6. Please read the chapter 6. We're going to do taxable, non-taxable, yield curve, and talk about a little bit more. I'm going to put those additional videos of problems tonight and tomorrow night. And chapter 6 quiz is going to be posted right after class on Thursday. And remember the groups. If you have 4 people you want to work together, email me.
I just have a question about.
Just a second. Let me save this before I forget. Because I think I kind of did forget it in my last class. And I may have lost